I wanted to go to like the next little resource that I used, because as y'all know, I was already in regular therapy, and I had been for 4 years, I think, at that point. And then I went to this workshop. Now, this is where it gets crazy. Let me sit this down. This is where it gets interesting, y'all. Now, I was in regular therapy, but because I was in regular therapy, and with the same therapist I started with, she told me, look, you're on an interesting journey right now, girl. You might need some extra therapy. You're not gonna just need me. You need extra therapy. She said, I want you to consider EMDR. What? I'm like, what are you talking about? Now, where's my phone? Because let me tell y'all something. I gotta look this up in real time. I was not prepared. I knew I was gonna talk about this, but I didn't look up what it means. Now, EMDR, I can tell you, is trauma therapy. So if you've experienced any type of traumas in your life, this therapy is great for you. It stands for eye movement desensitization. Hold on now. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. When's the last time y'all said that D word? Because I don't think I've ever said it. I've only read it. So don't come for me. Yeah, don't cover me. I promise I can read. I have 2 degrees. I promise you, and the first was in journalism, so I know I can read. Desensitization. There we go. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Y'all don't make a meme out of me. Anyway, I'm gonna read the little overview on Google. So it says it is a psychotherapy technique used to treat mental health conditions, particularly post-traumatic stress disorder. So here's the thing too, and maybe it's just me, but when you think of PTSD, a lot of times people associate that with the military, which is fair, because if you are deployed or you go through combat, like you're gonna have PTSD, because that's not normal. You shouldn't see that. So, but like PTSD, you can have that from other like life situations, and so domestic violence, a divorce, a separation, whatever. Like if you deal with a partner who cheats on you, then like you're gonna have trust issues to the maximum. Like you're just not gonna trust. That can cause PTSD. So EMDR, that's trauma therapy for short. And my regular therapist told me, she's like, you need to go to EMDR, and you can also meet with me while you do that, but like it's going to be a very separate therapy. Like you need to focus on your healing and focus on the trauma that you've endured, and I cannot provide that with you, because I suppose you have to be trained or certified to do EMDR, and she was not. So I kept her, and then I don't even know. I think I actually had to shop for my therapist, because I don't even think she gave me a referral. So now listen, I think in an earlier episode in season 1, I talked about like when you have a therapist, find someone you can relate to. Can't remember if I did or not. I found a Black woman. I actually found a handful, and then I kind of like interviewed them. So we had consultations, and then I settled on the one that I did, and it was amazing. But I began EMDR, and again, these experiences, y'all, uncomfortable. That workshop, uncomfortable, different, something I never experienced. EMDR, uncomfortable, different, something I never experienced. When I first got to that session, once I, did my consultations with different therapists, and I said, hey, I think I like this one. Y'all ain't gonna hold you. I really was like, is this witchcraft? Like, what are we doing? I was like, is this going against my spirituality? I don't know, because the things we were doing, I'm like, this ain't normal. Like, this is not. Because while you will talk to your therapist and, you will do an assessment, as most therapy sessions begin and most therapy relationships start, you have to do some sort of assessment so they can gauge where you are and what you need, because you have to get a plan, get a plan together to see, this is where we're starting, this is where we need to end up, this is the goal. That's what helps you on your journey. But when we started, y'all, she was like, these are the different methods we can use. I was like, are we going to be talking or not? Like, am I going to be silent? How is this helpful to me? It's one of those things, again, I'm not going to give you everything, because again, I'm not a therapist. I just know what I've experienced. So look it up, EMDR. And you can look at the different methods and practices they use. I tried the light therapy or light method, I believe. And then I also did the, I don't know if it's like the actual tap method or the clicker, because I don't know if those are like one and the same, but I use these clickers. And I know you're probably like, what are you talking about? It's going to sound crazy if you don't know. I'm telling you. Just look them up. But those are the two methods I use. And I started with the light one. And after a few sessions, I told her, look, I don't know if this is working. I don't think it is because I don't feel different. Mind you, I'm doing trauma therapy, having been in regular talk therapy for like 4 years at that point. So I know when therapy is working. I said, I don't know if this is working, girl, because I don't feel like, I'm not even emotional right now. I don't know what's happening. And she said, let's try a different method. When you come next time, we will try a different method. So then we did the clicker method. And it's a sensory thing. It's a sensory thing. So when we did that next method though, I'll never forget. I remember she was asking me certain questions. And again, what I'm saying probably does not make sense. And I really don't know what to tell you for it to. You have to do your research. And if you choose to do it, then and only then will you be like, oh, I see what she was talking about. But when we did that click method, it was bringing up memories and thoughts that I had suppressed for a long time. And that is the point of EMDR. So like bring up those innermost thoughts from those traumatic experiences that you've probably suppressed for so long that you forget they're there. But these methods that we use somehow brings them to the forefront of your mind. And y'all, she asked me one question, because you take little intervals. It's like, I think 30 seconds or like a minute, you'll do the little, like the light or the clicking or the tapping, because people do tapping. And then they'll take a break in that moment and they'll ask you a question about whatever memory it was that you were trying to bring up, which is addressed at the beginning of your relationship with that therapist. They'll ask you like, what memories do we want to work through? So I had 3. But when we would be in between them things, she asked me one question after we switched methods, y'all. I'm talking about the tears just started rolling. And I'm like, why am I crying? I literally looked at her and was just like, why am I crying right now? But it was bringing up these emotions that I had literally just like, I pushed them all the way down. As far as I could go, they were down there. But they were coming up. And in that moment, I still didn't fully understand what EMDR was or how it could be beneficial to my healing journey. But I did understand in some capacity, like, this is helping me. I can't put words to it, but I know it's helping me, because why am I boohoo crying? And I felt so relieved after that session. I knew we chose the right method. I'm like, it took us a few sessions to get here. Very expensive, might I add, because most EMDR therapists do not take insurance. I don't know if it's because it's a specialty or what, but from my research, they don't. So keep that in mind if you consider it. It's worth it, but you're going to pay. But I realized, I'm like, it's working. I still don't fully understand this. I did understand at that point it wasn't witchcraft. I knew that much. Took me like 5 sessions to get there. But I was like, oh, this isn't witchcraft. This is just something I don't understand. That doesn't mean just because this is a word. Just because we don't understand something doesn't mean it's bad. Okay. Like, that might be an old way of thinking, but like, we're in 2025. Just because we don't get it doesn't mean it's negative. Now, I'm not saying everything is worth exploring, but I want to make that clear. I want to say that because I think we probably have all been guilty of this at least at one point in our life. Maybe with one specific situation or maybe in a period of time, but like, just because we don't get it doesn't mean it's bad. But I did go into EMDR thinking that initially. I was like, this is crazy, this is witchcraft, this is different. No, it's just a different practice. And it was doing its job. So I did that for months. I didn't do a full year, I will admit, but I did it for some months, for an extended period of time. And I was going bi-weekly. And it really, I don't know, it like awakened something in me where I was really starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I used to talk about this with my trauma therapist. Like, for a while, I was just in this darkness and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know when I'm going to get out of this. I don't know when I'm going to feel happy again. I don't know when I'm going to look forward to something again. This woman is, well, I have to credit her, but also the practices we were doing in therapy. But she is the reason I started dating again. She is the reason I didn't lose hope when it came to marriage and men. She is the reason I actually started to get excited about life again. Because when I came to her, I was faking it till I was making it. And I was not making it at all, actually. But I was faking it. Like, I didn't want to cry in therapy. I didn't want to admit that I came in there sad. I didn't want to admit that I was thinking about, like, if I wasn't here on earth anymore, what would my family think? Like, I didn't want to admit that to her because I felt like I'm here to heal. Let's not mention, like, let's just act like we're moving along, we're okay. But I really was, it was like it took me a few sessions to really take a deeper look at myself and realize, like, girl, if you're going to come undone in a session, this is the place to do it. Like, you need to cry. You need to tell her really where your mind is at to get out of this. And whatever type of methods and what you thought was witchcraft, whatever you need to use, like, you need to get out of it. Again, this is not witchcraft. But I had to really lean into those methods. Even if I thought, like, this seems silly or this is kind of weird and uncomfortable, just do it. Because she knows something you don't know. She has degrees in something you don't. So, like, trust her. And also, it was my original therapist who I trust. She was the one, like, you need this, this will help you. She ain't lie. So with that, one of my little, remember I was like, I have all the things. Let me show y'all. It was my trauma therapist who told me, you need to read this book. Sex Talks. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, sex talks? You're going through a divorce. You shouldn't even have sex. No, and I wasn't. I wasn't doing that. So the book is not about that. It partially is, but it's not. Like, it's about intimacy. So I'm going to read y'all a little thing. So it's called Sex Talks. And the little subtitle is The 5 Conversations That Will Transform Your Love Life. Now, this is by Vanessa Marin. She's a licensed, I can't talk. I'm reading acronyms and trying to read words at the same time. Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist, LMFT. So if you go to therapy, you know what that means. And then also, I said Martin. Oh my God. Vanessa Marin. I'm reading too fast. But also with Xavier Marin. So her husband chimes in. Now, I'm going to read the little inside cover. That's always great to do because it'll give you a little gist of what this is about. And initially when my trauma therapist said, you need to read this book, it's called Sex Talks, I'm going to send it to you. She emailed it to me and I was like, girl, keep the main thing the main thing. I'll go through it before. Why are we talking about this? And then when she explained what it was, I'm like, oh. And y'all, when I started reading the book, I could not put it down. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I know as a community, we talk about like the knowledge is in the books. Like if you're not read, they don't want us to read. I sound like DJ Khaled. I don't want to sound like DJ Khaled. But it's true. Like they don't want us to read because the truth, the information is in the books. As someone who was a journalism student, who also has a master's degree, you got to know, reading for fun left my life a while ago. Like it was one of those things I'm like, oh, starting to feel very like transactional and very school-ish, you know? So when I pick up books, it's hard for me to stay in them. Cause I can start them, I don't mind, but it's hard for me to stay in them. And so, but when I picked this book up, y'all, I could not put it down. I said, oh my God, this is really good. So I'm gonna read this cover so that y'all get an idea of what it's about. And then maybe you'll understand why I could not put it down. Here we go. The first little part right here. It says, why is it so hard to talk about sex, even with the person who regularly sees you naked? Do they be seeing y'all regularly? Okay, so I'm gonna read the rest. So here we go. You know communication is important in a relationship, but you just don't know how to get started with such a sensitive subject. Maybe you've never talked about sex at all, and the thought of it makes your palms sweat. Or you're feeling so disconnected from your partner that sex is the last thing on your mind. Maybe you're too scared to be honest about what you really want. Or you have no freaking clue what you want, so you're not sure how to tell your partner anything helpful. Can you tell this was written by a woman? Because it reads like that. Sex Talks is here to change everything. Together, sex therapist Vanessa Marin and her husband, Xander, show you that the best thing you can do for your sex life doesn't even involve taking off your clothes. Intimacy, okay? Sex Talks guides you through the 5 essential conversations that every couple needs to have to create an extraordinary sex life. You'll discover how to get comfortable and even have fun talking about sex. Stay emotionally connected, turn each other on, make each other feel good, and keep the spark alive for your life. You'll come away with a richer understanding of your needs and desires and practical ways to create deeper intimacy with your partner. There's that key word again, intimacy, which does not mean physical sex. Okay? Because really, sex starts before you get to the bedroom or wherever you want to do it. Before the physical part of it, like, it's the intimacy, that emotional connection, which is what this book is about. With storytelling that ranges from tear-jerking to laugh out loud funny, Vanessa and Xander give you an intimate peek at what really goes on behind closed bedroom doors, including their own. Sex Talks gives you the sex education you wish you'd had, the reassurance that you're normal and not alone, and the tried and tested tools you need to create the sex life you deserve. So that gives you a rundown of what this book is about. And I will tell you here, well, never mind. I was going to say something about this little part, but we'll leave that. Either way, the book is good. It's about intimacy. And mind you, I went to that workshop I mentioned. I went to that first. Like, I went to that probably maybe 3 or 4 months before I started trauma therapy and before I even heard about that book. And so when I went to the workshop, I initially thought, like, well, I was cheated on. This is a sex thing. No. When you eat, let me tell you something. The percentage is probably so small of people who cheat. Like, it's probably so small when it has to do with sex itself, like the physical act of sex. That percentage is usually small. If somebody is a cheater, whether emotionally or physically, it usually both times has something to do with something way outside of the physical need for sex, which is why that book on intimacy was so important. And so when I was having conversations with my trauma therapist, she was like, you need to read this book about intimacy, because not to place the blame on you for ending up in a situation where you were cheated on, but understand, because you were cheated on, there's probably a lot of things you need to address within your own view on intimacy. And I was like, girl, what? Like, okay, I'm not opposed to taking a deeper look at myself, because I already done it at that point. I was like, we need to do a deep dive here. But for her to mention that and say, look, you probably are very uncomfortable with intimacy, and even more so now because you have found yourself in this situation, you need to read this book. And y'all, when I read that book, the stories I heard, I saw stuff in that book where I was like, whoa, did I submit something to them? Because, like, I relate. The book is like that. Now, I allowed that to be, for the most part, one of my travel reads. So when I was on a plane, because I travel so much, during my separation, I needed to get away. I traveled a lot. So that was my plane read. I would take them on the plane. I would be in that book, y'all. Like, in the book. I sent it to all my friends. I sent it to family members. I sent that book. I said, please get the book. Men and women. And a lot of them got the book and read. And they were like, girl, married, single, engaged, broken, engaged, like whatever. So many people with different lives, like current lives, Everybody wasn't married. Everybody wasn't divorced. It was just different people, and they loved it. Every single one. They all, the men and women, checking in like, yo, this book is like that. It really made me look at myself. So, of course, we love a good introspective look. But it did make me take a deeper look at myself and my relationship with intimacy, or at that time, the lack thereof. Because I really wasn't comfortable with the thought of it, the conversation that came with that, sex or not. Like, again, sex is not just the physical act. It starts way before you get to that point with your partner. So, like, I realized based on conversations or the lack thereof, growing up even, we took sex ed. Did your parents talk to you about the birds and the bees? Like, those things were coming up, and it was like, yo, why are you so uncomfortable with this? Because the thing is this, even with a partner, marriage or not, everybody's not married, but like, you have to talk about intimacy, expectations, like what you expect from them, what they expect from you. Why do we expect these things? Is this feasible? Can we compromise? Am I willing to be more open? Are you willing? Like, you need to have these conversations. And that book just touched on everything you could imagine. Matter of fact, let me pick it back up. And what I'm going to read to y'all is me see if I could look at the chapters just to give you an idea of the 5. Oh, okay. So there's 3 parts. Okay, so part 1 is all about you. And I'll read the little chapters. So like chapter 1 of part 1, destroying. Ooh, not she was cursing. I forgot. I ain't gonna do that on this. But chapter 1 of part 1 says, or I'll say the first chapter of part 1 says, destroying the effing fairy tale. Okay, so we're gonna shut down those expectations. Chapter 2, creating the user manual. This is so good, y'all. I'm like smiling because it's laughable, but it's real. Chapter 3, setting your rules of engagement. Chapter 4, building the foundation for your sex talks. Then part 2, the 5 sex talks. So chapter 5, the first conversation is acknowledgement. Chapter 6, the second conversation, connection. Chapter 7, the third conversation, desire. Chapter 8, the fourth conversation, pleasure. Because some of y'all be on that weird. I read a lot and I have a lot of conversations. Y'all need to be having these conversations with your partner. Okay? Chapter 9, the 5th conversation, exploration. Part 3, keeping the twin flames alive for life. Chapter 10, what to do when conversations go off the rails. Y'all need to be talking to y'all partners. You can't just assume because you're in a relationship with somebody that everything goes. Because it don't. Conversations. Chapter 11, making sex a priority. Chapter 12, falling back in love for the rest of your life, don't stop. So one could assume that this book is for people who maybe are not quite on the same page. But I think if somebody were to read this book before they actually get in an exclusive relationship, it could be helpful as to how you navigate that relationship when you get there. And then you might not have those moments of like, we're not on the same page. We don't agree on this. Like you actually might show up in the way that best suits both parties. So I think that's a great tool. And I have to shout out my EMDR therapist, Marin. You were amazing. And I hope that doesn't go against, maybe we'll bleep that out, I don't know. But she was absolutely amazing. While I did enjoy my regular therapy and I needed to, up the sessions, I think I started going weekly. My trauma therapist just opened my eyes to so many things that I never would have considered, especially in a moment that felt like I'm out here alone on this island. Like nobody knows what I'm going through. They don't know. She was just such a safe space. And she made me take a deeper look at myself to understand, like, even though I did not commit the offense that led to my divorce, I still have to look at myself and say, like, what role could I have potentially played in whatever decisions he made? Not to justify the decisions he made, but like, what did I do or not do that made him say, well, I'd rather do this over here, And so trauma therapy, it was a deep dive of looking at myself. And I cried a lot of tears. Some days I didn't want to go, but I went every time. And I'm so grateful for that. So I'm going to end this on a very interesting note. I know I've given y'all a binder, a book. I say, look, resources on deck, tools, trauma therapy, workshops, everything. As I was looking through my stuff though, I came across my journal, my good old diary from the time that I was separated. And it's interesting because I didn't intend to like share anything with y'all from this, but I was really in the moment. I was caught up. I said, this could be a very, just like a raw, authentic moment, which I try to have that anyway, but I'll read this. My mom gifted me this because she always gives journals, but during this time she was like, you need to get them thoughts out because you got a lot going on inside. So it says, he shields all who take refuge in him, Psalm 18 and 30. And I'm actually going to read my very first entry. So I ain't gonna tell y'all when it was, but just know I was 2 months. I don't even think I was fully 2 months. Looking at this date, I was almost 2 months post-separation. Not post-separation, but like into the separation. Now don't laugh at me. We listen and we don't judge, okay? Because the way I write is very much, it almost reads as like an entry you would hear on a TV show, okay? So it might be a little dramatic. Anyway, I said, well, here I am, writing from New York. As I sit in the airport, all I can do is be grateful. It's been a long time since I picked up a journal, so shout out to my mom for getting me this one. Life has kind of been crazy. I met a man, I married him, and now we're separated. Only a few months into the marriage, I experienced the last thing I expected. We dealt with an incident of infidelity while engaged, and I pressed forward and proceeded to marry him anyway. It happened again, but emotionally, then again, physically. Numerous instances. So by that last one, I decided to dip. During this, I ended up losing my dream job, or at least what I believed to be at that time. I couldn't focus at work, and rightfully so. Work started slipping, and I guess you can figure out the rest. It's been almost 2 months since everything hit the fan. It's been 2 months to the day since I made up my mind on what I would do, which was leave. My sister also in this time frame called off her engagement. As wild as everything feels and seems, I'd say her perspective is exactly what kept me grounded. I'm at the airport alone, headed to what was supposed to be a couple's trip, and leaving town from what was supposed to be a wedding weekend. I guess since things have drastically changed, maybe they weren't really supposed to happen after all. I know God knows best. It's just scary sometimes. But my sister says he was up there playing chess, so I guess I agree with her on that one. I'm headed to Vegas for my bestie's 30th birthday, and I really can't wait for a fun time. I know it's going to be everything. It's going to be filled with love, especially getting made up and done up. I can't wait to look cute again. So now I'm going to go. I have 15 minutes to boarding, and I have a layover in Nashville. Ironically, because I wrote this entry, y'all, before I went to the workshop, which was in Nashville. So it's funny how I'm writing this and I'm like, oh, I have a layover in Nashville. I hadn't even been to the freaking workshop yet. I didn't even know I was going yet. So there's that. So that's basically how I ended up. So I have a layover in Nashville. Then I'm going to head to the West Coast for a little vibe. And that's how I ended that. And, you know, thinking about this, reading that, it brings back, I would say a wave of emotion. I really don't feel much about that. But the thought of it, though, is interesting because at that time, I was still in shock, thinking about what I was experiencing and what I was going through. So to read that and even talk about my sister's situation, I was relying heavily on family. Like, even to say, like, oh, my mom got me this. Like, little things like that. I didn't want to journal. I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want any type of reminder. But, like, the people that were even pouring to me in small ways, that was what kept me sane. Because the sister was not sane at that time. I was ready to risk it all. Okay? I would have went to jail. Just kidding. I would not have gone to jail. Picture me in jail. But I was mad. I was upset about the things I was going through. Okay? I was not with it. But, you know, reading that just brings back a lot. I was kind of just lost. I was wandering. I was trying to figure out, like, what's my next thing? Only thing I knew to do was just, like, stick to the plan. I had booked the trip that was supposed to be a couple's trip. Canceled his flight. Went alone. I was still with couples. I just went by myself, and it worked out. Life went on, but that was like the beginning of me really getting my stuff together and figuring out, like, how do I take control of this healing journey? Because again, I've said this previously, you are in control of your healing journey. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to start that. People can make suggestions, and might I add, don't take the suggestions from those who have not experienced what you're going through. Take it from the professionals, the therapists, the pastors, the people you trust to lead you spiritually or emotionally. And of course, like, if you have friends or family that have gone through what you're going through, listen to them, but take it with a grain of salt still, because every situation is unique. But that was how it kind of jump started. Like, this right here started my journey to healing. And it just so happened to be a trip for my friend's birthday where it was like, look, we had already booked this trip. A separation don't stop nothing. We caught that flight. We went to Vegas and we had a good time. It was hard because I was with married couples on that trip. I was supposed to be with my man, but I went anyway. And I said, you know what? I don't know what the future holds, but life goes on. So started it there, went to that workshop, started trauma therapy, literally in that order. continued on in my regular therapy, and almost a year post-divorce now, and almost 2 years post-separation, I feel amazing. People tell me I'm glowing. I'm like, listen, it's God. It ain't the makeup, because Jamia, you did your big one, girl. But it's not that. It's God. It's the therapy. It's all the things I needed, even journaling, because I like to journal, but it's not second nature for me. Like, I have to make myself do it. But all those things combined really pushed me along on this journey. Like, those were the stepping stones that kept me there. And don't get me wrong, I'm still in therapy. I'm still healing. I don't do trauma therapy anymore. They have like a follow-up workshop. I will not be attending. I don't feel that I need it at this rate. I do still journal, but those are the things that got me here. And in this space, even talking to y'all feels like therapy to me. So those are the things I did, like the practical tools I can tell you that I did. And look, if you're interested in anything and you're like, I don't know where to start, I got questions, hit me up. Y'all know I'll be responding. I love a little chit chat, a little kiki, because I ain't gonna lie, some of the stuff we be talking about, it'd be funny. Now I feel bad. Some of y'all be like, oh my God, why are you dealing with, like, you know, and y'all did the same to me. But, you know, I will reply. So if you have questions about anything, or you're just like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, I don't know where to start, whatever, please ask me. I will gladly share with you everything that I can. And if I don't know, if you have a therapist, or you know someone who is divorced or has experienced infidelity or whatever, domestic violence even, because I know we talked about that previously, contact your people. You never know. Because had I not had this podcast, y'all wouldn't know about some of this stuff. Y'all wouldn't. My friends know, but when I was telling them about what I was experiencing, they were like, girl, what is that? So again, hit me up. I'm happy to share. But that's what I got. Those are the tools that help me. I do feel, if I had to say on a scale of like 1 to 10, I would say Shorty's at like a 9, a solid 9. That 1 point is just, I get triggered sometimes. Why do I get triggered? Because I'm back on the dating scene, and y'all, man, y'all be triggering a girl. But again, I'm not gonna know I'm triggered till I'm in your face and I'm like dealing with you. So it's like, other than that, I don't really get triggered too often on a daily basis. I go to work and go home. I might hang with friends, but they don't trigger me. It's when I get back and I go on a date and then I'm like, I don't know about that one. Triggered. But I'm a solid 9 otherwise, you know? So yeah, healing is necessary, but you need some practical tools. You can't, look, I'm a spiritual girly. I pray. I've meditated. I've done all the things you can think of. I promise you. That, you know, goes within being a Christian woman, because I ain't going to be doing no witchcraft. But I've done those things. But you need some practical tools. So get in that therapy. Get in regular talk therapy, trauma therapy, find workshops, whatever. If you listen to a podcast, I don't know, read a book. The books are great. The knowledge is there. Do all those things. And I promise you, you'll be on a healing journey that you could have never imagined for yourself. I promise you, because I thought at one point, I was like, how are we getting out of this? But here we are. So if you made it this far into this episode, I'm going to assume you needed something from it. And I hope you did get something from it. I hope you got a few things. If not, share it with a friend, share it with a loved one, because maybe they'll get something. Don't assume that everybody is completely healed based on the timeline of when they have left a toxic situation. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody doesn't heal in a certain time frame. So understand. So we've reached the end. I can't believe I talked that long, y'all, but I did. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Why? Because that one ain't gonna be that serious. It's gonna be fun. Okay? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, we're going to be talking about dating. Great segue for the triggers, right? We're going to be talking about dating because your girl is back on the scene, kinda. As I'm sitting here filming this and as you're watching this, I haven't really been on the last few months, but I have gotten back into that space of being open to dating. So we're going to jump into that in the next episode. As always, like, share, Subscribe if you haven't, but if you hear, you probably subscribed. Share it with your loved ones and say, hey, look, subscribe to this so you can get updates. Because this episode might not be for them, but another one might be. Just tune in, rewatch season 1. I don't know. But please like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, whatever your preferred platform is. And I look forward to seeing y'all next time. Bye.